Expo, EIBnet.com. It's true. I had to hurry get this done. 2/3 the American people want Obamacare overturned. It's a CBS New York Times poll. You got to be worse than that. If they report 2/3, it's got to be worse than that. You imagine how tough that has to be for the New York Times to report one of their own polls. 2/3 of the American people want Obamacare overturned. Just 24% of the country want Obamacare left intact. Now, I want to go back, ladies and gentlemen, this secret meeting that's going on, a series of secret meetings taking place according to the Politico. There are 12 senators from both parties secretly huddling over plans to avoid the fiscal disaster we're headed to in January of next year. Tax-mageddon. The Bush tax cuts and new tax increases start with Obamacare, new rounds of government spending, all kinds of things that if they happen, I find this fascinating too. Even the Democrats know. And it's a Democrat wish list. The Bush tax cuts end, new tax increases, massive spending, and they understand fully that it'll wreck the U.S. economy. Some of them do. And we're led to believe that enough of them care about it that they're having secret meetings with the Republicans to try to head off this disaster. I'm not sure I believe that. I think it's another attempt behind the scenes to snooker Republicans into going along with tax increases. They're not going to cut entitlements. When's the last time an entitlement's been cut? The only way an entitlement's going to get cut is if it's deemed unconstitutional. There haven't been any entitlement cuts proposed that anybody really ever meant. And they're always paired. And we'll start talking entitlement reform if you, Republicans, finally agree that we need new revenue, i.e. tax increases. So, at the center of everything is the Bush tax cuts expiring. That is at the center of everything. What? We talked about this on this program yesterday. And I said, Snerdley perked up on this, he couldn't believe it. The conventional wisdom is that if Obama's reelected and we get to tax-mageddon, that he's going to relent and he's going to authorize another temporary extension of the Bush tax cuts to avoid economic disaster. That's the conventional wisdom. Now, Obama's not saying it. All of his surrogates are saying it. The press is speculating it. A lot of people have just concluded that it's conventional wisdom. David Rodham Gergen. We played the soundbite yesterday. David Rodham Gergen thinks that Clinton is actually part of a strategery here to give Obama cover on this. Because Clinton is out there not only saying we shouldn't hit Bain Capital, private equity is honorable work and those are good people, but we need to extend the Bush tax cuts because we are in a recession. What you have to understand here, folks, and I'm not exaggerating, what you and I call tax-ageddon, the Democrats call nirvana. What you and I look at as fiscal disaster, they look at as dreams realized, and I am not exaggerating. So the popular conventional wisdom, which is often wrong, is that Clinton is out talking about extending the Bush tax cuts to give Obama cover for doing it. I do not believe, and I want to go on record right now again as yesterday, I do not believe if Obama's reelected, he's not going to extend the Bush tax cuts. That's not why he's running for reelection. He's running for reelection to end those tax cuts and to raise them. That's what Obama's salivating over. He's not going to extend these tax cuts. And I don't know whether David Rodham Gergen's believing his own drivel or whether he's part of the ruse too. But this, Carney said that. Carney said it on the gaggle on Air Force One. The spokeskid said that Obama is not going to extend the Bush tax. Okay. Okay, well, then the regime is on record if Snerdley's right, and there's no guarantee of that. So anyway, the center of all these secret meetings, the Bush tax cuts, what the Politico says is going on here is that Durbin is the guy talking. And he's saying that they're having these private meetings because to do this publicly, everybody start throwing stones at them, and they would disband. The political heat would be too much. If Democrat voters learned that Democrat senators were considering cuts to entitlements, that there would be hell to pay. And by the same token, if Republican voters learned that Republican senators were talking about raising taxes, there'd be hell to pay. So Durbin says we can only do this in private. We can't hold public meetings. So why talk about it, Dick? Why leak it to the Politico that it's even happening? And they also say, Durbin says to the Politico, the reason they're doing this in private is to make sure that business is able to have its confidence restored. These measures, he said, Dick Durbin said, are trying to come up with measures that'll restore confidence in the business community. Now, if these ideas that they're talking about in secret would restore confidence in the business community, don't you think that that would happen if they did this publicly? So I think there's something else at work here. This article in the Politico ends up saying that when all is said and done, all that'll end up happening is a temporary extension of the Bush tax cuts, as Bill Clinton is out suggesting. The Politico cites Kent Conrad, Democrat Kent Conrad. They quote him as saying it might make some sense to extend all the taxes in short-term tax cuts. So Obama's going to take Kent Conrad to the Cory Booker Memorial Woodshed because Kent Conrad is the latest Democrat to publicly speak out against the Obama agenda. But I've been here too many times. I've seen this kind of thing too many times. I've been around too long to get fooled by any of this. And this to me looks like, and I hope I'm not being too smart by half here, but this is starting to look to me like a deliberate Democrat strategery. And the strategery is Obama encourages all these top Democrats to say the Bush tax cuts have to be extended. That Obama wants Clinton out there saying this stuff. That Obama wants Durbin talking about this. That Obama wants all these other people, not him, but all these other people talking about the Bush tax cuts have to be extended after the election in order to boost economic optimism before November. The key for all of this is for business to think that Taxageddon is not going to happen before the election. But you know what? Let's say they play this out. Now, well, let's just watch. Let's just watch. Let's see if all this talk about extending the Bush tax cuts continues. Let's see if more people pick it up. Let's see if it becomes part of the conventional wisdom. Let's just see in the next couple of months, 3 months, if indeed it becomes part of the mass political assumption every day. Oh, yeah, Bush tax cuts be extended. January 2012. We can't allow that to happen. No. We're going to have to extend those tax cuts to help. Let's say if that becomes the public assumption. And the purpose of that will be to ease business opposition to Obama. And then Obama, let's just say, gets reelected. And it's just going to be like Bill Clinton and his middle-class tax cut. Shortly after being inaugurated in 1993, Bill Clinton called a press conference, or it might have been from the Oval Office. I have never worked harder in my life. I have looked at the numbers, and folks, we just can't afford a middle-class tax cut. I wanted to do this. I know I said that I was going to do it, but you know what? It's worse than we thought. This worst economy in the last 50 years, and I just can't do it. We're going to get the same thing from Obama. We can't extend the Bush tax. It's not going to happen. In other words, a big lie is being perpetrated here for the purpose of getting Obama reelected. I wouldn't put it past them. So all these so-called betrayals and misstatements, Clinton and all these other guys supposedly embarrassing Obama, where's the discipline? If all these guys are really off the reservation and really embarrassing Obama, where's the discipline? This kind of stuff happens. Remember, Michael Walsh had it right. Understand the Democrat Party today is to understand the workings of a modern crime organization, a crime family. You go off the reservation like this, you get punished. Well, look at Bob Torricelli. Look what they did to him. Look, Andrew Cuomo was... Bill Clinton, in both cases, went to both those guys. You know, Cuomo wanted to run for something. And they said to Andrew, you see what happened to Torricelli? He went to jail, Andrew. He was close to going to jail. If you want to have political future, you're going back out of it. Carl McCall, whenever any of these Democrats have gone off the reservation, there has been discipline. There isn't any discipline now. These guys are getting away with supposedly humiliating and embarrassing Obama. Here it is from the Washington Post, Washington, for those of you in Rio Linda. Aboard Air Force One, the White House is insisting President Obama will not extend the Bush-era tax cuts for wealthier Americans, even temporarily. Obama spokeskid Jay Carney said the president has been clear in his opposition to extending tax cuts for households income above $250,000. So maybe my theory is not right, because Obama's undercutting it. For my theory to be right, Obama would have to shut up and go along with it. But now the spokeskids out there undercutting Clinton and undercutting David Rodham Gergen and making it clear, I don't care what you hear from my so-called friends, I am not extending the Bush tax cuts for the rich. Now you got these senators meeting in private, trying to come up with a deal to save us from Tax-Armageddon.